Hey guys, I'm back with another review. I'm slowly catching up here. I'm doing the Osaka Day show that happened on January 11th of 2020, and let's get right into it. First match was Utami and Azumi versus Syeda and Itsuki Hoshino. Now, there were a lot of firsts with this match, so because apparently Saya and Itsuki claim that this is the first time they've ever tagged together, just those two. And coincidentally, on the other side, Azumi and Utami are teaming for the first time ever as a tag team in this match. Now, I don't know if this was one of the matches that got interrupted because of the flu. If you guys don't know, the flu hit Japan, Joshi wrestling in general, really hard this year. A lot of people got had to miss like their shows that were just happening, and you were seeing tweets left and right about, oh, this person, this person's out with without the flu, and these are the new matches and things like that. Stardom was no different. I believe Samire and Natsuko were the only two that were affected by it, but just with those two being out, they ended up having to change like over a dozen different matches for some reason because they had to move people around. And I don't know if this was one of them. If it wasn't beforehand, it's pretty cool that they decided to just get these two tag teams out of the way at the same time. So moving on to the actual match, Saya really seems to be wanting to prove herself lately. I've noticed that in like the last month or so that Saya has just completely upped her game. I know I've said this in like the last couple reviews, but it's true now as it is then. She just has this new fire lit under her, and I'm very curious as to why. Maybe she just wants to prove that she's really good before Kagetsu leaves, who was her trainer. Who knows? But whatever it is, I'm really enjoying it because she is really putting some effort into every single thing she does in the ring, and it really translates to the fans about how hard she's really working. And I'm a fan because I enjoyed Saya right from the beginning. I thought she was really great. She had a lot of potential, but then she just really plateaued, and she just didn't get better for like a really long time. She just stayed exactly where she is. And this whole ordeal lately has kind of proved that she hasn't plateaued. She was just, getting ready to do another spike. And I, for one, am really looking forward to anything she pulls out now in any match. Another thing is, it's always weird to see Saya using her right hand for the chops in the corner sequence. I don't know what it is. I think it's just because I know she's left-handed. Well, I don't know for a fact that she's left-handed, but all of the evidence points to the fact that she's probably left-handed. She's always using her left arm and hand for things because not a lot of Stardom wrestlers are actually like ambidextrous in a way. Like, one of my most favorite jokes is anytime Momo decides to actually kick with her left leg, I make it like a huge deal about it on Twitter. I just find it's just a joke. You guys know I love Momo, but it's pretty obvious that she doesn't really know how to kick with her left leg, and that's why she always focuses on her right leg so much. It's just always fun to see someone using the opposite of their dominant side. It just shows like the effort that she's really putting in. Maybe she's ambidextrous. I don't know. She could just be ambidextrous, and using her right side is just as normal to her as using her left side. She has been very favoring of her left side, Saya. So I want to claim more that she's just a southpaw instead of ambidextrous. But, who knows? I don't really know her in real life. I don't know any of these wrestlers in real life. The closest thing I ever got to interaction with this is them liking my tweets sometimes, which always makes my day, by the way. Huge mess up with Utami and Itsuki. During a Hurricanrana spot, as some of you may know, Itsuki, one of her moves that she's done right from the beginning, right from her debut, was a Hurricanrana. She runs up, pops up, does the whole ordeal, and it was very impressive. But for some reason lately, I don't know what it is, but Itsuki is kind of floundering. I don't know if it's just nerves or anything like that, but she's been kind of floundering. I'm really rooting for her to pull it around, but we'll see. But anyway, with this mess up. I really couldn't tell exactly who messed up. I know Itsuki jumped, but I don't know if she jumped high enough. It kind of seemed as if Utami had to physically force her up onto her shoulders after the jump. I don't know who to blame for that one. And by blame, I mean like who was the one that caused the mess up. And whoever caused the mess up, it doesn't mean they're a bad wrestler or that they, should be punished. When I say blame, I just mean whoever messed up the move. Things happen in wrestling. Moves get messed up. As long as no one got hurt, I don't really care too much who actually messed up. I just, for my own personal knowing and head history of Stardom, I want to know who actually messed it up. The scary part of this, if it was just that part, I wouldn't even be talking about it probably. But the scary part was that the Hurricanrana part kind of got messed up as well. Itsuki pretty much landed directly on her head or neck in a way where it wasn't planned. That got me really nervous after watching it, but she just got right up. She kept wrestling, and there was no news afterwards of her being injured or anything like that. I know Stardom isn't exactly the best company in the world for that, of letting us know what's going on. Feel very strongly in saying that she is completely fine from this. There was nothing. It was just a scary spot that makes your heart rush a little bit, but she's completely fine, I believe. Azumi gets to be the senpai to Itsuki again. They've been doing this sequence quite a bit lately. I don't know if it's just because Azumi has been wrestling a lot of the younger girls lately, or if they're just trying to push Azumi up more. She's been doing that whole spot where their hits don't really affect her as much. I enjoy it. I think Azumi enjoys it more than anybody. She really loves any time where she gets to be the senpai to anybody, because in that promotion, she is technically, I think, the third most experienced person who signed there. I don't know if that's still true anymore. I don't think Julia for sure hasn't been wrestling longer than Azumi. Micah, I know she's not going to join Stardom probably, but she's going to be a regular from now on. She's been wrestling for about half a year or less than a year, as far as I know. Yeah. I believe the only people who are in Stardom who have more wrestling experience, from their debut day to now, is Mayu and Kagetsu. And Kagetsu's leaving, so Azumi's going to be the second most experienced person in Stardom coming up here soon. Signed wrestler, anyway. Sumire is about a month or so away from having the exact same amount of experience as Azumi, which might surprise a lot of you, but it's true. Azumi is back in her new outfit, which I'm very happy. I love the old outfit, but I don't really enjoy any time a wrestler goes back to an old outfit. I know it probably has something to do with the other one being dirty or not being prepared enough for the match, and they need to use the old one. I get it. I really have no problem with them doing it, as long as it's not a permanent change. One of my biggest things with Julia right now is that although both of her outfits are cool, I kind of wish she would have a Stardom outfit, because the one that she's wearing most of the time now, the not the white one, the other one, I believe that is one from before Stardom, and it would be nice for her to get a Stardom exclusive outfit that she has never worn anywhere else to kind of set her roots into her new promotion. Because right now she still feels as if she's an outsider, and I really want her to succeed here, mostly because if she doesn't, where is she going to go? She burnt a lot of bridges with that whole change, and it's clear that she's one of the figureheads that Bushiroad is pushing, because she's on every poster. She's getting a huge push. She's now a team leader. Going back to the actual match I was talking about, later on in the match, Itsuki does pull off a Hurricanrana on Azumi, which was much better and smooth. And this actually brings me to a point that I never even considered. There's on Twitter, for those of you who don't know, I'm very active on Twitter. Anytime anyone sends me a message or a tweet or anything like that, 9 times out of 10, I will most likely respond to you, as long as I'm not in a huge slump. During that period, I don't really respond to anybody, so don't feel too bad. But most of the time, if you send me a message, I will respond to you in some way. There's this Itami fan account on there that is very active. He's always, supporting Utami and all that. And it's really great. One thing I really love about that account though is that he sends me, and I don't even know if it's a he, it could be a she, but I have a feeling it's a he. He sends me like questions and stuff like that every now and then, and it's really amazing questions that I never even thought of before, that when he brings it up, I actually start thinking about it, and it just adds a much more deeper perspective on things. And I love that. I love when people ask me questions on Twitter. I might not always know the answer, because I know some of you think that I have like these connections in Stardom and stuff like that. I have zero connections in Stardom. I don't know any of the wrestlers. The English Stardom account treats me no differently than any other fan, which means I get no information whatsoever. I don't know anything from the inside of Stardom. I'm just a super fan who really likes to pay attention to storylines and character development. And I also have access to a computer and a very limited, crappy amount of knowledge on video editing. I love when people ask me questions on there, because it brings up points that I might not have already thought about. The reason why I went on that ramble is that Utami fan account, they asked me a question about whether I thought Utami being pushed into this position as like a figurehead of the company so early in her career might be causing her too much pressure, causing her to kind of make more mistakes than usual, because she is trying so hard to live up to this super like rookie persona. And I never really thought about that before, but I think that is an amazing point. It's a phenomenal thing to think about, because Utami is being pushed into one of the core members of Stardom, and she just passed her first year of wrestling. She's only been wrestling for a little over 1 year, and already she is being treated like she is a top member of the company, and I can't even imagine how much pressure that is. And then not even that, her whole super rookie gimmick, when she first debuted, it was probably much easier than it is now, because the only people she was really being compared to back then were the other rookies. Sure, she was wrestling with the topper people like Jungle and stuff like that, but I think we can all agree that those matches were mostly great because Utami was being carried by some of the best wrestlers in the company. But when you compared her to the other rookies, it was clear that she was head and foot taller, like whatever the expression is, she was much better than them. But now she's getting pushed on the posters with other people like Julia, Mayu, Hana, Arisa, some of the best people in the promotion right now, talent-wise, excluding Hana and Julia. They're obviously being picked because of other reasons, not just wrestling ability. And I feel like that could be a lot of pressure, because now she's not being compared to rookies, she's being compared to some of the best wrestlers in the world. And that might be a lot of pressure to her to try to unnaturally force a spike in her ability when it's not really there. That might be why she's so injury prone. I mean, she might just be forcing herself to try to get better. And I really hope that I'm wrong here, but if that's true, Utami, please don't push yourself too much. We are willing to wait for your natural progression. You started out really great. You already had a head start. You have nothing to prove to us to try to keep that unnatural spike the whole career. Someday you're going to plateau. There's nothing wrong with that. Everyone does. But it doesn't mean that a slow incline is a plateau. Look at Mayu. She spent like 4 or 5 years not being anything special, playing second fiddle to Io and Kairi. But now she's getting her time to shine. Just take your time, all right? We're willing to wait and watch you progress naturally. We don't want you to do something stupid and try to force it and then get permanently injured and have to quit wrestling or something like that. Now, with that super serious thing out of the way, the match that I was talking about, if you can believe it or not, I was actually talking about a match there, ended with Azumi pinning Itsuki Hoshino in 6 minutes and 49 seconds with the diving foot stomp. Now, they call it the diving foot stomp, and that's fine, but I like to add the qualifiers to it. As you guys know, I always call her move the top rope double foot stomp, mostly because I think it's important to add that she's using 2 feet, not just one, and that it's from the top rope and not, say, the second rope or the first rope or whatever. I don't know if you call moves from the second rope diving or not, but I just like to have that qualifier that she's jumping from the top rope. She's using a double foot stomp, not just like a 1 foot stomp, because foot stomp, in my opinion, implies 1 foot. All right, moving on to the next match, we have a singles match between Rijo and Andres Miyagi. Now, going into this, it's really obvious who's going to win here. There was no way in hell that Rijo was losing. She's invincible in Stardom because of her association with AEW and being the champ there. A lot of people don't agree with my assumption of that, but I really haven't seen anything else to indicate why she can't be beat in Stardom other than the fact that she's the champion in another promotion. It's kind of ridiculous. She did all right in this match. I just want to say that right off the bat. Still, it was super obvious going into this who's going to win because Rijo is never going to lose a singles match in Stardom until she loses that AEW belt. That's just how it is. And even then, she still might not even lose singles belts because it's clear that they want Rijo to be one of the mainstays in AEW's women's division. So right here, let's just move on to my first bullet point here. I really hope that this is all building to something with Miyagi because right now it feels like she is drifting aimlessly. It's really worrying me, especially with her being dumped by Julia, her not being the mysterious second partner of Julia's new faction. It's really, really concerning me because, as you guys know, I love Miyagi. I think she has one of the highest ceilings out of all of the people who came to Stardom recently. I think she's so good at everything, and for her to be in the position she is now, I'm worried that it could mean her leaving Stardom altogether. If this is just leading to her being a kind of like a low top mid card wrestler like Jungle is, that would be a shame, but at least she would be there doing stuff. And it's not like Jungle doesn't get the appreciation she deserves from the fans, just not from the company. And if that's what Miyagi's role is going to be in Stardom, I'm okay with that, but it does make me a little nervous because she did leave another promotion to come here, and if she's just going to be pushed into the mid-card like that and be used to put over other people, it could eventually make her want to leave, and that would really suck. I really hope Stardom doesn't drop the ball with her. I hope that there is something in the works with her, whether it be a storyline of her joining some other faction. Hey, maybe she'll join Queen's Quest, like who knows? Whatever it is, I want her to be doing something. If they're just going to have her be a singles competitor and never join a faction and she's just like a lone wolf kind of thing, that's fine as well, as long as that's what they're planning, and this isn't just them not knowing what to do with Miyagi. Next bullet point, Miyagi's water myths are just so good. She is definitely one of the best people in the promotion who do the spitting water gag or whatever you want to call it. Hers always just looks so good. It's very volume based, like there's a lot of it, and it's very misty. There's not a lot of dribbles like a lot of the other people who do it. I don't know why I wanted to point that out, but I made a bullet point for it, so I'm going to say it. Before the match even started, I wrote, I really hope Rijo does decent here. It's obvious she will win, because I've already talked about that already. If she's going to be this dominant, I want her to at least feel that dominant, and she doesn't. Almost none of her moves have impact on it. A lot of her moves need either viciousness or weight behind them, and she has neither. None of her strikes feel dangerous, and none of her other moves feel like she's actually doing them. It's clear that the other person is flipping for her and things like that. It's a curse because of her size, but being that small doesn't mean that you have to be weak looking. I mean, Mayu's taller than her, but they're pretty much around the same body shape and frame. And then if you want even a better example, Saki is extremely skinny. She is probably around the same height as Rijo. I've never complained about her beating someone or her moves not looking good, because she plays to her strength. She is not strong. She is not vicious. So she's technical, quick, and sneaky. That's what she has to play into. Sometimes your body frame makes the choice of what kind of wrestler you can be. And with Rijo, I feel like she's trying to be something that her body frame will not allow her to be legitimate behind. And you guys know my opinion on that already. So let's move on. Rijo's new outfit, the black one, looks really good. I'm very glad that. All right, so I'm going to be spoiling things that have already happened after this in these ones. It's the only way with how long it takes them to upload these matches. By the time that I'm getting to talk about this show, things have already happened later on that I just can't not address. A big part of the fan base who thought that Julia's second mysterious partner was going to be Rijo because of the new black outfit. And I was very dreading that because I don't want that. I don't want Rijo in Julia's new group because Julia's new group looks like they're trying to be an actual threat. And if Rijo was the second partner, sure, they would have plot armor, but they wouldn't look like they deserved all those wins for a lot of it. I'm very glad to announce that is not the case. I'm not going to announce who Julia's new partner is because I'll save that for the review of that actual show, but it's not Rijo, and I'm very happy about that. So going back to the match, there was a very good opening sequence, like very good, and Rijo did pretty good in this match, but she hasn't gotten any kind of like offense in at the time that I wrote this. It was mostly just her taking moves from Miyagi. And as you all know, Miyagi is very fluid and her moves look very damaging and things like that. Her weakest thing is that her strikes are very not powerful. Like a lot of her strikes are a lot like Kagetsu's strikes. They're very pulled back and weak looking. But she makes that up with all of her other moves being crisp and technical and having a lot of power behind them. There was this really awesome power bomb sequence by Miyagi that happens in there where it starts with Rijo being in like the electric chair position. I think that's what it's called. It's where Rijo is sitting on Miyagi's shoulders, facing the same way that she is. And then it starts with Miyagi like spinning her around and then dropping her down for a power bomb. It looked super strong. Honestly, I could have believed that was the end of the match if it wasn't Rijo. Rijo's running knees look so weak. And it's even worse because she's in a promotion with a bunch of people who do running knees, and every single one of them look miles ahead better than hers. Hers just looks so weak. Like it's obvious that it's a wrestling move. Like that it's not a move. The whole point of wrestling is trying to make it look real without actually hitting each other. Now, I know Japan doesn't really do that too much because they're mostly just hitting each other, but Rijo's looks so fake. Like so fake that it's just unbelievable. She has no power behind it. There's no forward momentum whatsoever. So nothing about that move makes it look like that person should have just done a back bump. Like it's clear as day in any shape or form when watching it that Rijo's move did nothing to her. It's just so hard to get behind Rijo. Like I like Rijo. I think she has a very good look. She is super cute, like God tiers level of cute. But nothing about her wrestling attracts me whatsoever. She is not I shouldn't say good. I should say she's not a great wrestler. She's a good wrestler. If she actually put some impact and strength behind her moves and made them more believable, had a lot more connection, this would be a different story. Because she has like the fundamentals and the fluidity in the ring completely down. It's just everything else that Stardom is known for, she completely falls flat on. And that is why I don't like her in Stardom. Rijo pinned Andres Miyagi with a clutch hold in 7 minutes and 48 seconds. It was clear to anybody who knows anything about Stardom that Rijo was winning here, so that wasn't much of a surprise. I am glad that it was a kind of like a flash pin instead of just a straight out win. At least this way, Miyagi is a little protected still, and I don't know. I didn't really like the match too much. I guess I would give it a thumbs up. I forgot to say for the first one was a thumbs up as well. It's just not anything too great. I mean, I would have recommended the first match over this match. So just moving on. The third match is I think the first match in the high speed Grand Prix is what they're calling the high speed tournament that Azumi requested. First match was Layla versus Starlight Kid. Now, before the match started, they brought everyone out and like announced everyone for the tournament. And I didn't know that at first, so I started writing like notes on it. Some of my notes on it was it looks like there's only going to be one match per show. So this is either going to be a really long tournament, or my head just can't wrap around how little people there are in it, so that's why they have to do like one match per show. There was a tournament introduction. I wrote, I really hope Azumi wins this tournament and goes on to win the high speed title. As you all know, I believe that Azumi deserves that high speed title more than anybody in the promotion. But the problem is that the only way they're getting it off Rijo is if it's like a triple threat or something and someone pins the other person instead of Rijo. As cool as this tournament is, I think we can all agree that the winner of this tournament is not winning that high-speed belt, which sucks. Some of the rules for the tournament are pretty much the exact same as the 5-star Grand Prix, except that it's a 10-minute time limit instead of a, I think, 15-minute time limit in the 5-star. The two people with the most points will face at the end in the finals. And moving on to the actual first match, Layla versus Starlight Kid, I really don't know who was going to win this one when I first started watching it, because Layla is really good. Like, really good. She surprised the hell out of me when she came in. I was just expecting another foreigner who didn't deserve to be there. She has completely proved herself. She's really good. And that's why this made it hard to guess who was going to win, because Layla, skill-wise, is pretty much better than Starlight at this point. But Starlight Kid is Starlight Kid, and she wins things she probably shouldn't have sometimes because she is Starlight Kid. During the opening sequence of the match, Starlight Kid did get the advantage over Layla. She won it. It was an interesting opening sequence, but it was a little slower and like stiff, but not stiff in the way that, you know, the hits were hard, just not fluid. But it makes sense with these two wrestling each other for the first time ever in this. And the fact that Starlight Kid isn't exactly the fastest high-speed wrestler in Stardom. She is a high-speed wrestler, but she's definitely the slower of them in the promotion. There was a sequence in this match where I don't know if it was just the angle of the camera or whatnot, but the DDT reversal that Starlight Kid did on Layla looked really bad. It was one of those DDTs where it looked like Layla was slamming Starlight Kid on her back instead of Starlight Kid slamming Layla's head into the mat. I don't know if it was the angle or if Layla just took it really weird. Starlight Kid's DDTs usually don't look like that, but it did here. So I'm very curious to know what went wrong, if it was just the angle of the camera or if it was the way Layla took it, because from memory, I didn't write it down, or if I'm remembering correctly, I believe Layla took it on her knees. And I think that might have been the problem, because when they take DDTs like that on their knees, it makes it seem like they're the one in control of the move instead of the person actually in control of the move. The match wasn't too great. I don't know if Layla was just nervous facing someone so young, but she seemed very off here. A lot of her moves seemed pulled back and or not as connected as they usually are. And I'm not really sure why, because she has wrestled people younger than Starlight Kid and she hadn't pulled back that much. It was weird, because she has done so well up until now, and then all of a sudden she's just not doing too great in this match. It took me this long to notice that Starlight Kid was back in her new outfit as well. It was very interesting, because on the last show there was like 2 or 3 people all wearing old outfits, and I had no idea why. But Starlight Kid is back in her new outfit too, which is great because it's a good outfit. Her old one's great too, but I've gotten used to the new one, the pink one. So I was glad to see it back. Starlight Kid has gotten much better at keeping her opponent's shoulders down during her like leg or cross-legged fisherman suplex. I don't know the official name of it, but basically her suplex, the one where she grabs the leg and then does the other leg and then it's the fisherman suplex. It was in the beginning when she first started doing it, she had a lot of trouble keeping one of the shoulders down because of the way the move worked. But now she's gotten much better. It looks completely uncomfortable with her doing it that way, but at least both of her shoulders or her opponent's shoulders are down, and the pin actually looks like a pin for once. So I do want to applaud her on working on that. She didn't have to, but she did, and I really appreciate that. The match ends with Layla tapping Starlight Kid in 4 minutes and 48 seconds with the armbar. I really wasn't expecting Layla to win, but it's nice to see, but it does completely throw a wrench in my plans of having Starlight Kid and Azumi in the finals. Now, it could still happen, but with Layla winning this match, it makes me very curious about who's actually going to be in the finals, because that means that Starlight Kid is at 0 already with, I think, 3 more matches left, because she has a match against Azumi, Zoe, and then Death. Yeah, so 3 more matches left, and she's already at 0. So we'll see. Moving on to the 4th match, we have B. Priestley, Momo Watanabe, and Ryo Onozaki versus Saki Kashima, Jamie Hayter, and Zoe Sky. First thing I noticed right off the bat was that Saki has a new haircut, and it looks good. As some of you might know, I'm not a huge fan of shorter hairstyles. My perspective on it has changed quite a bit ever since I got into K-dramas, because a lot of the time when they're trying to make the character look younger or like less attractive, they'll actually put them in a shorter hairstyle like Saki's. Just through watching those and like falling in love with the characters, I've kind of been brainwashed into liking that hairstyle as well. And so I actually really like it on Saki. I think it fits her really well. I don't necessarily think it fits her well in the ring, but with any pictures she's uploaded online, like for Instagram or Twitter, with the new hairstyle, she looks really good. I hope she's happy with the new hairstyle because I think it looks fine. Sumire and Natsuko are out with the flu. They talk about that for a little bit. Something I want to point out, though, is just that Queen's Quest's entrance theme is just so awesome. It's so epic and in your face, like, yeah, we're Queen's Quest. We're going to beat you. It really fits them in a lot of ways. Saki still got a buttload of streamers, like a ton of streamers. Saki's always gotten a lot of streamers. Every show I always try to see who got the most streamers, and it's usually Saki. And I was thinking that maybe now that she's an Otai, it would, kind of simmer down a little bit, but she's still getting some of the most in the entire promotion, which is really great for her. Something I do want to talk about that has been bothering me for quite a bit that I just didn't really bring up because it's kind of not really something worth bringing up, but it's gotten to the point where I can't not talk about it anymore. I don't like how B gets announced after Momo when they're getting announced before every match. It made a lot of sense when B was the red belt champion, but not now. I mean, Momo has a belt now. Like, she's the only one between the two who has a belt right now, and at the time of this show. And Momo is supposedly like the ace of Stardom, and it really bugs me that B is getting announced after her, because it's very clear that the order of getting announced is the standing in the company. I mean, Mayu's never getting announced before Arisa or before Tam or before Saki, like it's just very clear. Like, they even do it on their cards, is they usually have like B's name first. It just really bugs me because, like, I get it that she's the top gaijin and she's in the top card and all that, but if Momo truly is supposed to be the ace or someone that the company has put their faith behind, she should be getting announced first, especially when B doesn't have a belt at all and Momo does have a belt. This just might be the ramblings of a Momo fan, but it does annoy me quite a bit. And that's coming from someone who actually does like B. I like B a lot, but I just don't like the fact that she is getting announced after Momo every time. The match starts with Otai doing a surprise attack. It made me think that, it made me very curious on how Otai is going to present themselves without Kagetsu's influence, because it was clear that a lot of the silly tactics and the goofiness of Otai was influenced a lot by Kagetsu's just nature and her personality. So her being out of Otai, I'm curious to know if they're going to keep up the legacy that Kagetsu has left behind, or if they're going to start changing into something different. I don't know why, but that surprise attack just made me think about that. Leo started off the match, and she's just getting abused very early in this match. Right from the beginning, she is just getting targeted and attacked. She's getting much better at taking all of the damage, but she's become somewhat of a spoiler. Or I shouldn't say spoiler, because I believe in wrestling, at least, a spoiler is someone who ends up winning a lot against people they shouldn't be winning against. But her being in the match kind of tells you exactly what the ending's going to be. It's her getting the pin. It doesn't matter who her partners are. It doesn't matter if she's teaming with Hina or, an ant. She's getting the pin. It sucks. I don't understand it, but that's just how it is. Something I do want to bring up is I hope that Otai are helping Zoe during her time there. It seems like a lot of the time Zoe's lost in what to do. She doesn't really feel like she's being brought in with the antics that Otai does very well. She's always kind of on the outside, not really helping for the very much part. I don't know if this is intentional, like if this is a plan on Zoe leaving Otai to go to another group or something, but it's just very noticeable at this point. Leo's back elbows are really good now. There's a lot of force and impact behind them, and I look forward to seeing them every match because I just want to see them get better and better. And in this match, they were very good. There was a very good Northern Lights suplex by B on Zoe in this match. I wasn't expecting it because I just didn't see B as someone to do a Northern Lights suplex. She might have been doing them this whole time. I just never really thought about it. But this one was very good. And that brings on the fact that Zoe and B work really decently together. They have really good chemistry in the ring, and it's one of the few times during Zoe's run in this tour that she's actually put on a really good performance. I don't know if it's just jitters or not, because we've seen her do good in Stardom before during her first tour. So it's just weird to see her so reserved and held back here. There was a very awesome sequence where B and Jamie were reversing each other's moves and sequences. And I thought that was really great because it makes sense. Their tag partners are really good friends. They would know each other's moves and the way that each other thinks, and they would be able to move out of the way or dodge a lot of their attacks or sequences because they would know it was coming up. And I just thought that was a very nice touch to put in there. Very good notice of detail by them. The match goes on to have Momo and Saki in the match at the same time. And I always get nervous when Momo and Saki are in the ring together because Saki has Momo's number, and Saki has beaten Momo a number of times, a lot of times. And I always feel like the match is going to end when these two are in the ring because it's possible. It's happened before. It's going to happen again, And now with Saki being in Otai and willing to cheat and stuff like that, it could happen even more now. Momo ends up doing an Uranagi on Saki, and I just love Momo's Uranagi. It's nothing crazy like the Rocks or anything like that, but there's just something pure and impactful about it that really hypes me up. It's just so quick. It's almost like a snap Uranagi, she just pulls it out of nowhere. There's no setup or anything. She just bam. It's really cool. Momo almost got done in by the Revival again, that's just one of my favorite storylines with Momo, is that she just keeps getting screwed over by this move. It's just really interesting to see her, she has a weakness, Leo's getting tagged in at the end. Guess QQ is losing. That's literally what I wrote. Leo getting tagged in. Guess QQ is losing. So Saki pins Leo in 8 minutes and 59 seconds with her finisher, My Emblem. There was a really interesting sequence at the end there where B and Jamie, fist bump, and Momo kind of tries to like intervene and like stop her from doing it. It's really nice to see the whole dynamic that like Jamie and B are friends and together, but the rest of their team don't like the other, So moving on, Julia for the 5th match, Julia versus Kagetsu in a singles match for Kagetsu's retirement road. I was surprised to see that this was going to happen, but once I saw that it was going to happen, I was over the moon, ecstatic. I really wanted to see how this match was going to turn out. In the beginning, like before the match even started, before anything, I tried to guess who was going to win the match, and I just couldn't come out with an outcome of the match. On one hand, it would be really great for Julia to get a win over Kagetsu for her new push and her new team and stuff like that. But on the other hand, Julia really has no business getting a win over Kagetsu at this point in her career. She is not worthy of winning that. Like, she's just not that good. So I wrote, maybe a time limit draw, ? And remember, this was before I even watched the match, so this was, like, I didn't watch the match and go back and try to make it look like I'm much better at guessing things. You guys know that I suck at guessing things, and I'm willing to admit that. But I did call this. Yes, this match does end in a time limit draw, and I feel like that is the perfect outcome. So going back to the beginning of the match, I noticed that Julia looked a little nervous, and that's kind of understandable because this is a big match for her. A lot of people in Stardom's best matches are against Kagetsu, and they can usually be a catalyst for an upward movement of their standing in the company. And I believe Julia could have been having a lot of nerves on her. I mean, she always looks a little nervous, but I think she looked a little bit more nervous than usual here. The match started off really slow, like a lot of Kagetsu singles matches. It's clear that Kagetsu wants to put Julia over in some way, because Kagetsu was really helping Julia look good here by having Julia kind of slightly out-wrestle her. Not really out-wrestle her, but at least be good enough to not be completely taken over by Kagetsu in the beginning. Something I noticed from this match is that Julia needs to learn something the most while she's in Stardom, and that is fluidity of the match structure. Right now, she's just so focused on the individual parts instead of the whole match as one. I believe that's what's causing her awkwardness in the ring. I mean, she's so focused on making singular parts look good and happen that it doesn't look like she naturally flows into whatever happens next. It looks like she's doing one sequence. All right, now it's time to do this sequence. All right, now it's time to do this sequence. If you look at pretty much any of the top wrestlers in Stardom, you can see that what they do really well is their whole match structure looks one fluid action. It's not just, all right, so now we do this, now we do this. They're like, okay, so now we do this, and because this happened, this is going to happen. Because this happened, this is going to happen. It's a lot more structured that way. And I feel like Julia really needs to learn that while she's in Stardom, because I think that's one of her biggest weaknesses right now. And that's one of the biggest criticisms I see of her, is that she's just so nervous. I mean, there's a reason why people describe her as like a lost puppy look, is that she just doesn't know what she's doing in terms of match structure right now. And I think that's something that she could really learn in Stardom, and I hope she does. Julia actually pulled off a really sick-looking superplex on Kagetsu. Of course, Kagetsu, like no soul that she did her whole like power through it type thing. But it was very interesting to see, because not only was Kagetsu not on the top rope when it happened, she was actually standing on the second rope, which made me think it wasn't even going to happen in the first place, but it did. But it looked like Julia kind of like over-rotated a little bit. It looked like Julia was the one who took all the damage there, and I wonder if that was intentional or not, but either way, it looked really cool. So towards the end of this match, I got to admit, I was a little worried about the outcome after the 2 pile drivers by Julia on Kagetsu. I thought that was probably going to be it. We all know that Kagetsu's biggest weakness is her neck, so it was very worrisome that Julia was going to pull out the win here, and that's coming from a Julia fan. I just didn't think that she should win this. Another big thing from this match is that Julia did kick out of the 450. She doesn't go on to win the match, but she now has a claim that she's gone 15-minute time limit draw with Kagetsu, and she kicked out of one of Kagetsu's finishers. And this is really important because if Julia is going to go on to become the leader of her own faction, she needs to at least be able to go to the distance and fight against a leader of a different faction. I think that this was the right outcome. I don't think Julia should have lost, but she shouldn't have won. And so time limit draw was the perfect way to go. Add some legitimacy to her new team before it even started. In the aftermatch promo, Kagetsu's putting over Julia quite hard. Whether you believe the rumors or not about her being, taking advantage of her power as head trainer or abusing it or whatnot, Kagetsu was never one to shy away from lifting others up. And I just want to take this moment to say that I really respect her. This whole retirement road thing has been about her putting over other people. And that's just, if you compare it to someone like Hazuki's retirement road, where it seemed like she was annoyed that she had to put over other people on the way out, it really goes to show you how much Kagetsu loves wrestling and how much she respects the art form, because she is doing all she can to put anyone over before she's out. And I really, really respect that. Also, at the end, I just wrote, Julia is effing weird. She's really weird. Like, she's a weirdo. I absolutely love it, but she's freaking weird. Moving on to the next match. The 6th match, we have Mayu Iwatani, Arisa Hoshiki, Tam Nakano, and Syeda versus Hana Kimura, Jungle Kyona, Konami, and Death Yamasan. As always, stars being their typical dorks in their pre-match promos. Something really interesting that came from it, though, and half of my notes is pretty much on this, is that we get official word of their heights from them. So they talked about the heights because Kamitani, it was Saya Kamitani, not Syeda. Oh, jeez, that is so confusing. Anyway, so Kamitani is the tallest one in there in the pre-match promo. It was clear as day that she was taller than all of the other ones. And Arisa brought that up or whatnot. And so Kamitani said that she was 168 centimeters. Arisa states that is 2 centimeters taller than her, and Tam states that that's 11 centimeters taller than her. So based on that, we can safely assume that Arisa is 166 centimeters and Tam is 157 centimeters. Now, going online and doing a whole conversion, blah, 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 we can assume that Kamitani is 5'6", Arisa is 5'5", and Tam is 5'1". That's really not important, but it's really nice to have official things like that, because you never know which websites are up to date and which websites are actually true. The Stardom website, I don't know if that's to be trusted or not. They're not very up to date on things. I mean, it took them almost a month before they even added Julia to their roster page. So we'll see. Kamitani is still being labeled as Stardom instead of Stars during her announcement card type thing. Which was confusing because I could have sworn that the show before this they were having they were talking like Kamitani was an official member or something. The match starts out with Kamitani screaming that she wants to start the match against Hana, and Hana specifically. And that was really interesting. I don't really know why. I don't remember them ever having any kind of beef, and I don't know why Kamitani was specifically target Hana, because if she wanted the best wrestler, she would have called out Death or Konami. So it's just weird that she picked Hana. TCS works really well together in team attacks and stuff. That's something that I've always noticed about them, is that they're very fluid when it comes to team attacks, and That's really interesting. There was this really funny spot where Arisa used Mayu as a weapon. She had Mayu like picked her up on her back or on Arisa's like behind Arisa's back and held her and then just swung and she was like hitting everyone with it. It was really funny because Tam got annoyed and like dragged Arisa to the corner and like kind of scolded her for it. Those two were just so amazing at everything. It's just so much fun to watch. Something I have been noticing a little bit lately is that Hana has started kind of no-selling things a lot lately. At least in the beginning of the matches. I don't know what's going on, but I really hope this isn't like a reversion to her old character. I'm holding off judgment until, it becomes more of a problem, but it makes me worried. She doesn't get as much leeway as other people when it comes to no selling because of that whole bad sequence that she had. So I'm keeping an eye on that. I didn't really super enjoy this match. I just wrote, the match is just kind of average so far. Nothing really stands out too much. And I think the reason why this match feels so flat, even though they are putting on a really great performance, is that there really isn't a reason for the match. There are no rivalries, no storylines to be progressed by this at all. Like there's no belts coming up between all of them. There was nothing. It was literally just a match. And for that reason, I really thought that they probably should have made Julia versus Kagetsu as the main event compared to this one. It might not have been as good of a match, but at least it had purpose and like a story to it. Whereas this one just felt like, oh, these are the rest of the people that we haven't had in a match yet, and they're all popular. So we're going to have these guys face each other in the main event. It just didn't feel like it progressed anything. And that was my problem with it. Jungle pins Kamitani with a hammer throw. Power bomb in 12 minutes and 46 seconds. And then after the match, Hana and Tam get into a scuffle and they kind of get into a fight. I'm not really sure what the purpose of that was. Yeah, I get that they have history together and whatnot, but I don't really know what this is building up to. I mean, neither one of them have a belt. As far as I know, neither one of them are up to getting a belt. Like, there's no singles belt that they're going to win. There's no tag belts or triple belts that they're challenging for. So I don't know. It didn't really make much sense to me. It was a nice touch. I think they just added that to kind of add some spice and maybe like a little meaning to the main event when there really was none. What do you guys think? Anyway, so there you go. There's my review of the January 11th, 2020 Osaka Day show. Thank you and goodbye.